Welcome to part 2 of my fall 2021 trip westbound to Arizona for the winter. In part 1 of this series, I departed Pennsylvania, headed south through Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, and into Alabama. I visited Gulf Shores and then took a short detour east to Pensacola, Florida. In this next and final part, I'll continue westbound back through Alabama, then continue through Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico, and ultimately to my destination in Arizona. So sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and come along for the ride. Now roll that intro. After 5 nights in Pensacola, I departed on November 13th. I drove west on I-10 for 400 miles through Alabama, Mississippi, and most of Louisiana. I stopped overnight at a Cracker Barrel in Sulphur, Louisiana. The next day, I continued west and drove another 210 miles to Beachfront RV Park in Surfside, Texas. After 3 nights at Beachfront RV Park, I headed back north to reconnect with I-10 and continued west for another 400 miles. I stayed overnight at Stadium RV Park in Sonora, Texas. The next day, I drove another 395 miles to a Cabela's just outside of El Paso, Texas. There weren't any designated RV spots that I could find, and most of the parking lot was on quite a bit of a downward slope toward the storefront. I managed to find a spot that wasn't too bad and called it a night. I really wouldn't recommend this Cabela's for overnight stays. It's just not suited for it. The next day, I continued my pace of driving full days and traveled another 314 miles through New Mexico and into Arizona. I stopped at Justin's Diamond J RV Park near Tucson. I stayed here 2 nights and did some desert hiking on the trails that are easily accessible right out the back of the park. It was now late November and time to head to Quartzsite to do some desert dry camping. From Diamond J RV Park, it's 270 miles to Quartzsite. I made sure to empty my holding tanks in Tucson before departing and then pulled into RV Pit Stop in Quartzsite to fill up with propane and fresh water. I then headed south on Arizona 95 to the La Posa South long-term visitor area. I paid the fee for a 2-week stay and headed out to find a spot. I spent 10 days in the desert, hiking, relaxing, and enjoying some epic sunsets. Finally, on December 1st, I headed out of the desert to my ultimate winter destination in Mesa. On my way out of Quartzsite, I stopped back into RV Pit Stop to fill up the onboard propane tank. It took 8.3 gallons of propane to fill. For reference, my LP tank has a usable capacity of 14.4 gallons, so I used just over 50% of the tank capacity for a 10-day stay in the desert. Along the way, I pulled into a Blue Beacon truck wash to get a month's worth of road grime and desert dust cleaned off of the rig. I'm now settled into my winter home base for the next 4 months. Stay tuned to see what I get up to while I'm here. For those that have made it this far and want to see the summary expense report for this year's trip, here goes. As I've mentioned, this year's trip was not a direct route, but rather a route south and then west. For travel, I drove 3,304 miles. The trip took 29 days, with 11 of those being driving days. The average miles driven on the driving days was 300 miles per day. For fuel, I spent $1,419 for 438 gallons of fuel, for an average fuel cost of $3.24 per gallon. My average fuel economy was 7.5 miles per gallon. For camping, I spent $970 for 24 paid nights of camping. I had 4 free nights. The average cost per paid night was $40.42. One side note, I'm treating the 10 nights in the desert in Quartzsite as paid nights because technically I paid the $40 fee for 2 weeks in the LTVA. But that's bringing the paid night average down artificially, I think. If I exclude the Quartzsite nights from the paid category, that raises the average cost per paid night to $67.14. For other expenses, I spent $712 on food and $439 on other miscellaneous expenses, including entertainment, propane, tolls, etc. This brings us to a grand total of $3,540. I hope you enjoy coming along on my travel adventures. If you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next one.